I'm Anthony Smith with HFG Trust, and this is the Chart of the Week video. Hello and welcome to the Chart of the Week video. For the very first time in the history of the Chart of the Week video series, we are going to revisit a topic we've already covered, Bitcoin. It is just too tantalizing to resist. On Tuesday of this week, El Salvador became the very first country in the world to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender. Now, El Salvador has unfortunately faced many economic challenges over the years. Its GDP ranks its economy at about 100th globally, and it's a country that has already adopted the US dollar as its national currency. That happened about 20 years ago, and I would imagine it was in an effort to reduce economic instability, but that hasn't really worked all that well in the past couple decades. But for this week, this Central American country is being put on the map, and I'm sure many are going to be watching very closely just how well this Bitcoin adoption goes in the coming months. The Bitcoin enthusiasts, as I believe they're referred to, are pumped about this, as I suppose it marginally legitimizes the case for cryptocurrency. Now, day one of this rollout was a little glitchy, if you were following along, and add to that an intraday drop in the price of Bitcoin of 17%. It did bounce back a little bit, but it was down 10% on the day. A 10% price drop is not very becoming of a currency, in my opinion. For a quick comparison, I took a look at the daily price changes in the United States dollar versus a basket of major global currencies over the past 5 years. And not once did the US dollar move more than 2% in one day. Now, if by now you can't tell by the tone of my voice, the choice of my words, or perhaps the occasional eye roll, I count myself among the highly skeptical when it comes to Bitcoin. Stepping back just a bit, I do find it quite fascinating watching the human animal in its natural habitat. We, as humans, have a tendency to follow the herd, and that's exactly what happens in many walks of life. And one of the must-reads for any aspiring investment professional that covers this is called Extraordinary Popular Delusions and the Madness of Crowds. It looks like I'm holding it up backwards. That must just be how it's filmed for this video. This is a book that was published in 1841, but still very much applies today. It is about manias, bubbles, fads, and follies, and lots of these types of things that have happened throughout history. When I was much younger and learned about historical panics and manias, I used to catch myself thinking, well, it sure is good now that we're so much better informed, and we really have evolved so that we wouldn't fall victim to one of these outlandish schemes that have plagued previous generations. Well, look around the world today. I don't know that that was an accurate assessment. You know, we as human beings are still very much susceptible to crazes, fads, bubbles, you name it. Now, Anthony, get back on track here. What is the point of sharing all this, and how is this video supposed to help viewers like you think about building wealth in the coming decades? And I will say this, we do follow Bitcoin. It would probably be irresponsible not to, because it is a thing, and it borders on an asset class. And all asset classes should be considered in constructing investment portfolios. I do struggle to call it an investment, because an investment should have intrinsic value. And by that, I mean we should be able to take the expected future cash flows from an asset, discount them back to the present to come up with a present value or an intrinsic value. I would argue that Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. It has a market value, just not an intrinsic value. So let's look at Bitcoin as a currency instead. Now, currencies are no longer backed by gold or silver, so they don't have intrinsic values in the traditional sense. The value of a currency is based upon the backing of the issuing country and the trust that we have in that government and central bank. I don't know who created Bitcoin, so I fail to comprehend how anyone can trust him, her, them. I will wrap it up by saying that it's not a short recommendation, it's not a sell recommendation. Making those types of calls requires a timing component. And manias can go on for extended periods. But buying Bitcoin is speculating. We are investors. That's it for this week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.